here at Xpertdoc Technologies. We are happy to have with us Chris Tully, part of the professional services team at Expertdoc, and Larry Torrey, Vice President of Sales at AssureSign. With this, let's jump right in. I'd like to make sure we're all on the same page, and I'd like to know what document generation means to you and your organization. To us, document generation is the creation of any business document in line with prevalent business processes across your entire organization. For example, what is the process you go through to generate personalized letters? Or to customize invoices with existing client data on demand? How do you tailor custom quotes and proposals in a matter of minutes? And in addition, ensure that policies and contracts comply with all changing regulations across all templates for all business users in all regions. How about business processes that need to provision the completion of government forms, ripe with penalties for non-compliance? And finally, how do you produce powerful reports pulling data from internal systems while leveraging the tailoring capabilities of Word? If you're like most organizations, the process of creating documents of this nature is time-consuming, error-prone, and most of all, inefficient. The Xpertdoc solution embraces the full communications lifecycle that you see depicted on your screen. Although many of you are familiar with the core elements of the document generation process, there is a need to address the ability of the business user to design powerful, dynamic templates and to leverage business rules engines for high efficiency. Users should also be able to tailor their communications to reflect the relationship and messaging they share with their clients. And in addition, be able to distribute these documents in a vast array of distribution options. Finally, companies should be able to enforce compliance at each and every one of these stages. Because Expertdoc truly leverages the Microsoft Word platform better than any other company, the benefits of OpenXML are delivered in rendered documents, generated from within the Expertdoc solution. In fact, the use of Word means that the average business user leverages familiarity they have in working in a known environment. This ensures rapid uptake and widespread adoption across the firm. But because the templates are designed with the Expertdoc designer, the power of OpenXML is leveraged, and companies enjoy the full performance enhancements, flexibility, and feature-rich options in the toolset. Here are some powerful metrics reported by some of our clients. Important solution features to note are the speed at which we implement 450 templates deployed in less than 3 weeks, the increase in productivity gains experienced by our clients, and our ability to rapidly accelerate schedules for each and every company we deploy to. I'm now going to pass it on to Chris to talk a little bit about how document generation and e-signature work together.
Great, thanks Samira, and welcome everyone. So we're going to take a look at the type of integrated workflow that you get when the Expertdoc solution and the AssureSign solution come together. Now, Expertdoc is great at bringing the production of dynamic document output and communications right to the systems, your in-house systems that your users have at their fingertips. And AssureSign is really the best platform out there at managing the process of obtaining binding e-signatures and really managing that process of getting binding signatures on your legal documents. Now, because of that, there's really a very natural fit, and the process that you see illustrated here is, at least for the most part, what I'm going to walk through in the demo in just a few moments, and it's really a good representation of a typical flow of how we go from creating documents to passing them through the e-signature process and really consuming those back into our organization. What you'll see here is that there's and sort of at the top left side, there's always going to be some sort of an origination event or an originator that's going to kick the process off. This might be a person sitting at a desk, or this could be some sort of an event trigger, and typically that's going to involve the selection of a template, and the template is really an Expertdoc concept or an Expertdoc entity And it's a template that provides the blueprint for the creation of a specific type of document. So that's what Samira mentioned earlier about being able to use data and business rules to create a document that's customer ready. So as part of what an originator will do is they'll select a template, but they also may need to be able to provide some data that's required to fill out this document and complete this document. And they also may select things like additional content, whether that's schedules or addendums to the particular document that will also need to go out with the package that goes for eSignature. And part of what the template contains is a definition of the workflow and the areas that need eSignature attention, and that actually gets passed when we publish to the AssureSign platform for eSignature. Now we're going to look at this in the context of a Microsoft Dynamics CRM environment as where this origination event occurs. And Xpertdoc has out-of-the-box integration from its template manager, which is really our central facility for managing these templates and doing all of the work that Xpertdoc does around document automation. And it integrates directly with the Microsoft Dynamics and AssureSign platform. So once an origination event occurs, the template manager will then produce a composed or generate a final document. And that out-of-the-box integration between the Xpertdoc system and the AssureSign solution is used to publish this document to the AssureSign environment for the acquisition and management of the process around obtaining signature. This would involve things like dispatching emails to the signatories to prompt them for going out and providing their signatures, as well as notifying any other interested parties in the e-signature process, such as the originator of that event, so that they can kind of keep tabs of what's going on. At that point, the signatories can then access a secure and guided signing process that's provided by the AssureSign environment. And the signature events could be something that happens either in sequence, so one after the other, or in parallel, so multiple signatures could be dispatched at the same time, just depending on your requirements. But ultimately, once the signature process is successful, there's going to be a resulting document that's fully legal and binding. As well, there may be any associated data that could be gathered during that signing process. So maybe one of the people signing the documents provided some additional information that we want to capture. This information can all be fed back through the integration that we have into your own systems, whether that's back into a content management system, back into the CRM database, or whatever makes sense. But that sort of completes the process of taking a document and bringing it back within your organization, fully binding and legally signed by the recipients. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Larry for a little further discussion on the AssureSign components.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Excellent. Thanks, Samira. So significant benefits with electronic signature, and I'll step through some of these, but the first and foremost would be increasing efficiency. So being able to generate documents with Xpertdoc and then be able to send them out with just a click or two. So create the document and send it out, and then be able to store that. And in our demo today, we're going to be storing that in CRM and storing the history in CRM, but it could literally be stored anywhere. So any data repository could certainly house that completed document. And ultimately, the greatest way that we increase efficiency is reducing that signature barrier. So if you think of all the ways or things that get in your way as you're trying to get documents signed every day, like emailing, asking someone to print it, sign it, and fax it back, or print it, sign it, scan it, and email it back. So all of those barriers are completely removed. You can bring a customer to an email, open the document, and sign it right there in line. And when completed, it goes back to all the appropriate recipients. And the signatories and all parties of that document would get copies as well. So increasing efficiency certainly helps decrease cost. So increasing accuracy and legibility of documents. If you think about multi-faxed documents where they're faxed back and forth and they're not now misaligned and signatures can't be read. And also, perhaps not all documents were completed as they were supposed to, so you get documents back that are not in good order. So with electronic signature solutions, you can decrease the cost by ensuring that all documents come back in good order, they're all legible, and they all get transmitted to the appropriate location and recipients. And that kind of goes along with mitigating risk as well. So ensuring that workflow is completed so that there are no missed steps in that process, which means rework, and then again, all documents being transmitted to all recipients, all data repositories, and specifically in our demo today, that repository will be CRM. And ultimately, having the ability to sign any document anywhere and on any device. And what we mean by that is arm's length, so you're in the Xpertdoc system and or CRM, and you're generating documents, sending them out for signature via email invitation. You could also bring your signers to a portal, have them authenticate themselves into the portal and sign documents that are presented to them in that interface. And we also have in-person options where you could use a signing pad or a tablet or smartphone. So any kind of mobile device is also enabled for document generation and document signature. Next slide, please. Thanks. I always like to talk about at a very high level, because we could spend hours talking about electronic signatures, but I call this slide Electronic Signatures 101, because these are the basic questions that are asked. And the first one is, how do I know it's legal? And there are really two pieces of legislation here in the U.S. and Canada that dictate electronic signatures. There are others throughout the world that we're also compliant with. But essentially, the ESign Act of 2000, the Uniform Transaction Act, say that or set forth a set of practices or processes, and if an electronic signature vendor follows those processes, then they will be compliant. So there is no governing body that says ABC company is a compliant eSign provider. It's essentially a set of processes, and we have lots and lots of data to back up the fact that the AssureSign application is in fact eSign and UETA compliant, as well as other international standards. And the only documents that don't fall under or automatically fall under the eSign Act are wills and trusts. There are other documents perhaps that government agencies and government entities just may not accept. And the bottom line there is both parties need to agree to sign electronically, and that's got to be part of that eSign process as well. But essentially, if the process is followed, then no one can deny the validity of an electronic signature, and they cannot challenge its legal standing. It is the same as a wet signature. The second big question we get is, how do we know who's signing? And if you think about the benchmark today, probably 95% of all transactions are done this way. A document is emailed to someone, they're asked to print it, sign it, fax it back, or scan it, and email it back. So if that's your benchmark, the only method you have of concluding that the right person is who signed it is their email address, and hopefully maybe it came faxed back from a recognizable phone number. But ideally, you don't know who really signed that document. There's no level of proof. And you certainly have a greater level of proof with an electronic signature process where you're capturing a lot more metadata, and I'll actually be showing that in the latter part of the demo a little bit later. But the basic authentication in any eSign product is going to be better than the traditional method. So if your benchmark today is printing, signing, and faxing back, an electronic signature solution is certainly going to be compliant for your needs. However, there are added ways to authenticate signatories and to prove the signatories are who they say they are. One is by email and password, so there'll be a specific password transmitted in association with that document outside of the transmission of the physical document that proves or says, you know, that this is your password when you go to sign or open the document. We can bring them to a web portal and have them authenticate into your web page or web front end. We also can require X509 certificates, not a big thing here in the United States, but certainly in other countries. Or for large government agencies, you may require a digital certificate be present as well. And then we have the ability to do an optional third-party out-of-wallet authentication where you're asked a series of questions or challenge questions that only you would know. And any authentication around the signing is captured in the reporting function that I'll show you later and stays for the life of the document. If we look at the e-signature market, there really is no clear leader. You know, some of the SaaS providers that have come up in the late 2000s have been certainly gaining market share, but some of the early adopters and some of the early entrants in the space were very heavy lifting with hardware and software and long implementations, and SaaS really changed that. You know, other than some vendors with lots of venture capital behind them making a big noise in the space, which we really like, you know, there really is no clear leader, and we focus almost exclusively in Microsoft applications and large enterprise solutions, and if that's what you are, any small to mid-sized business in large enterprise, look for the vendor that's focusing on the enterprise or on the business and not necessarily on the consumer, that isn't necessarily consumer-centric. And when we think about applications, they are just about everywhere. So we have certainly a non-vertical play and as well as vertical play. So if you look at some of our customers, which is coming up in an upcoming slide, we have some customers that transcend all parts of their enterprise, from selling applications to HR and onboarding applications. But you see here is a representation of the different types of applications that you could use within your business, but also some vertical applications in places where we tend to focus exclusively, like financial services, higher ed, and some government agencies as well. Next slide. Thanks. Just a bit of history. AssureSign is part of three sister companies. Marketing Systems Group was founded in 1991 and developed an interactive voice response system that did a verbal signature or a verbal contract for service providers. And if you've ever changed your phone service from one service provider to another, you probably went through this where they validated that you really did want to change your service. And this came from anti-slamming laws. So Marketing Systems Group was doing this application for the local phone company in the Orlando, Florida area, and did it very successfully. And that was United Telephone, which became Sprint United, that ultimately is now CenturyLink after many years, and still a customer today. But they really helped us launch a sister company called 3PV, or third-party verification. So to address that more telecom and service provider-centric market, we spun off a sister company called 3PV, or third-party verification, to address that space. And then that led to AssureSign. So one of our customers, Vonage, back in 2002, 2003, asked us to develop a way for their customers to sign up online. So go to their web portal and sign their authorization rather than doing it verbally. So we created that web-type application back in 2002, evolved it as a product through 2008 that allowed multi-tenant, allowed APIs and connectivity and integration capabilities, more sophisticated workflows, and AssureSign spun off from 3PV, or third-party verification, back in 2008. So we are a cash flow positive company. We've got 30-plus employees approaching 40. We've processed over now 170 million unique signature events, and we run at 4 nines uptime. We are a Microsoft Depth Managed partner, and again, we focus on the enterprise and not on the consumer. And kind of back to our mantra of sign anything, anywhere, on any device. And we'll move to the next slide. And if you just step through these, that'd be great. So we sort of run the gamut. I talked about success across all verticals and then horizontally within customers as well. So in sales environments, just getting contracts signed. So Bright House is a cable provider. So getting their cable customers signed up with service level agreements. The Anaheim Ducks use us to do their season ticket holder renewals. The Honda Center uses us to get their event contract signed within the enterprise. Liberty Power is a service provider. McGraw Hill sells ad space in their magazines. McGraw Hill is one of those crossover customers that started using it in their sales environment and now use it in their HR environment for HR and onboarding, but also all of their sales contracts and things like that are done with AssureSign. Insurance, probably one of our largest verticals. You see some significant insurance customers there. Financial services, another. And then you see here we just kind of run across the gamut. Vonage, one of our early customers. And then we have sporting goods there, and NASCAR, and Carbon Trust is a UK-based customer that certifies your carbon footprint. So literally, applications across many, many different verticals, both large and small. If we go to our last slide, we're just a slide away from the demo. So just a brief overview of what we do. So we can deploy software as a service. So in a SaaS environment, so cloud-based, we can also give you a private instance of AssureSign in the Azure platform. And then lastly, we can deploy on-premise. So large enterprises that want to have it installed behind their firewall can do that. But also, if you look at SaaS it doesn't scale infinitely from a pricing perspective. So instead of having these sunk costs that you pay every year for software as a service, you could deploy on-premise and over a multi-year life cycle, certainly have a tremendous amount of savings by deploying on-premise. If you deploy in our SaaS environment, we are SSA 16 now, or use the old SAS 70 certification. We are PCI compliant, and we, again, run at 4 nines uptime, and we'll put that in a service level agreement. We don't charge for our APIs. We believe that our application is best when it's integrated, and as you'll see in the demo today, when Chris runs through this demo, you will not see the AssureSign application except in the signing process. So all that stuff is sort of done behind the scenes with API connectivity. And once the setup is done, your users will never have to, unless you need them to, experience the AssureSign interface. We're designed to be more integrated, so we don't charge for that API. Again, we're enterprise-centric and not consumer-centric, so we don't have a free app that you can download from the App Store. When you sign on a mobile device, you're signing with your browser on that mobile device, and you're not forced to download an application. We also allow our customers to completely customize and brand their signing interfaces so that your color schemes and your brand and your name is represented throughout that signing process, and you're not seeing AssureSign plastered all over everything. And we have some really flexible pricing models that we can provide that are very flexible but also predictable. So you'll know what your 2-, 3-, 5-year life cycle cost would be when entering into an agreement for electronic signatures. Through partners like Xpertdoc and others, we try to enable our customers to be self-sufficient. So we have a services organization. However, we don't always leverage that because we would rather our customers integrate as they need to and sort of run their own application. So we provide all the tools and support in order for them to do that, ultimately delivering a fully compliant electronic signature solution for just about any size enterprise. And with that, I think we're off to the demo.
Yep, so just bear with us 1 second while we flip over to my screen here.
Chris, you should have your screen.
Yeah. All right, so hopefully you see if someone on my team doesn't see it, just shout, but hopefully you see a dynamic CRM screen, which is really where the centric theme of the demo will come from. So I'm going to start off in CRM and really walk through the process from here. Now you can see this is just standard out-of-the-box CRM, and hopefully what you'll be able to get a grasp of and see from this is that everything we're doing here is really out-of-the-box integration that Xpertdoc provides from within the CRM platform right through to the AssureSign integrated process as well. So I'm just going to start off here and select an account. So it really doesn't matter what one, but let's pick one that I know has some information. And then you can see it's just brought up my account details for this particular record that I've selected. And from within this screen, you can, if you're familiar with the dynamic CRM screen, you might notice there's an addition of a particular form, frame or component on this particular form called document output. And this is where the specific Xpertdoc functionality has been, sort of seamlessly nested within the CRM screen. And you can see what it's done for me is it's brought up a new form element here where it's given me what we're calling a template execution functionality. And that goes back to that workflow I described earlier where I'm a worker originator of this event, and I'm at the point where I'm ready to send a document out for signing and for signatures. So you can see it's given me the ability to select a particular template, and this is that template that I described earlier. So I'm going to select one here. It's actually an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that we use. And by selecting that, you can also see that it's changed the form entry boxes that are available to me because this particular document requires some different information. So it's not just this information on the form that's actually going to be used in the creation of this document, but it's also the information from CRM that can be leveraged and used to present on this document that I'm generating, or for evaluation, or for business rules, and what the case may be. So let me just put in something here. My core business is software. So once I'm satisfied with the information that I've entered, you'll notice here I've got, we sort of got manual entry boxes for email addresses and names and such. That's pre-populated from our CRM record. This just gives me the option to be able to change it, but it also gives me a default value so that when I'm sitting here on the spot during a demo, and I'll be much less likely to make typos. So this is going to go off and initiate the e-signature process. And actually, behind the scenes here, I've just been dispatched an email, and it's notified me that the process has been started. Now, this is a particular style of e-signature process where it goes for immediate presentment. So what that means is that whoever is initiating this event or the e-signature process will be notified immediately that there's a request for signature from that person. So in the context of in a different context, that could also be done purely through emails as well. So if this was being sent off to someone different, and actually the second step in this will go via email alone. So you can kind of do it either way, an immediate presentment where it happens immediately right from the browser, or a pure email triggering of those events. So you can see here, this has actually gone and taken me over to the AssureSign platform, which manages the process of providing the signature information. So it's given me a little box here to check that I agree to all the terms and conditions of providing the signature. I can go forth and go through the signature process. So it's really prompting me along the way, very easy to follow. One of the nice things it does provide is it gives me the opportunity as the person signing this document to review the document in its entirety, so I can click through the pages and make sure everything is in order and something that I wish to put my signature on. So once I'm happy with it, I can resume the signing process, and you can see it's again guiding me through, and it's pre-populated in this particular example. This signature box is actually what we call a typed signature block. So it's pre-populated a name in here, and you can see when I click on the next, it's actually put in a name in sort of scriptic font for me as a representation of my signature, fully binding, fully legally allowable. But you'll see another style in the second example. So if I'm this user and I'm happy with the document and done providing my signature, I simply finish, and the submission of this document will continue. Now, what's happened actually is this particular signature workflow called for a second signature to occur. So in my inbox, you can't see, but you will see in a minute. I will open this email, and you can see that I've just been sent this email that prompts me to really complete the secondary step of this signing process. And it simply provides me a link, and it will be very familiar because it takes me to exactly the same signature, through the same signature process as the first user. And I'll accept my terms and conditions here and simply click through. And you can see if I look behind here, or if I were to review this document and look at the last page, you can see that the name that I had populated or signed, the first signatory's name is already populated in this document because it's already been, he's already completed his portion of this process. So if I was the second signatory in this document, if I'm happy with it, I could simply go through and complete by adding my signature. Now this is a different style of signature. This is more of a handwritten style where you'll use your either touch device or, in my case, a mouse to sign. And it works just like an electronic pen, so you can go ahead and pen it in, and you can see it's popped that signature into the document. And for this particular workflow, that's really all there is to it. Now, there are many variations to this. We could have things like providing initials on every page. We could have, again, parallel or in-sequence signatures. We could have, as many signing steps as was applicable to the particular requirements of my document. Now, if I go back to my CRM environment, we've completed this signing process. Just to illustrate how we're tracking these, if I go to what we have, again, another option in here for Xpertdoc electronic signatures, you can see here that this it's tracking all of the signature steps or the signing steps that have happened against this particular account. And by refreshing the status on this one, it looks like that's the last one. It should inform me that this particular transaction has been completed. Now you can see that the status on this first one, which was started at 2:29, is now completed. So that's something that can happen automatically on a regular basis, but for the purposes of the demo, it's just more immediate to do it manually. And I have a link right to that document from here that I can go and see the completed version of that document. And it's all the history of the signature transactions associated with this account are all tracked within CRM for me. As well, within my account notes here, you can configure it such that the actual documents get attached to the CRM record in the notes section, or the attachments within that same account record, if that is a desired effect. Similarly, and it's not configured in this particular environment, but we've done many things like integrating with SharePoint. So if you wanted this to go into SharePoint or any other real content management system, that's also an option. Now, if this was a particular, if there had been other data collected during the process of having the electronic signatures be provided, that same information could be brought back into CRM. So perhaps a user had entered, you could prompt the user to enter other information as well as their signature. That information could be brought back into CRM and stored against whatever entity it made sense. Could also be used to do things like trigger a particular workflow or perform other events within CRM. So all that information can be fed back as part of the ESignature transaction completion. Now, there's one other thing I just wanted to briefly speak about before I pass it back over to Larry. That was sort of a very interactive mode for providing electronic signature. You do have a second option here within CRM that's more of a batch type cycle for providing signatures. So you'll notice there's an Xpertdoc batch execution button on my screen here within CRM, and what it allows you to do is trigger a batch against any view of entities you may have in CRM. So if I wanted to do it against all my active accounts, or if you had particular filtered views in here that you wanted to execute a batch e-signature transaction against, you can do that by simply selecting that particular view and then providing the template you wanted to execute that against, and that would go off rather than one by one manually initiated events. It would trigger a batch cycle of all of the particular entities or records within that particular view and execute those sort of behind the scenes automatically for you. I think that's the gist of what I wanted to show. I think Larry's going to delve a little bit more into the AssureSign piece of it, so I will pass it back over to Larry.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I think one of the things that I want to point out is that everything that Chris did was in CRM or an external application. Is that it was driving the Xpertdoc engine. It was also driving the AssureSign application. So APIs and integrations obviously very important. So I wanted to show you the back end of how all this kind of works. This is the AssureSign application. I'm hoping that everyone sees that. This is the main page. So all users could go into the AssureSign app, and you can see all the documents that are about to expire. For example, you could have expirations on documents. So this is sort of a user dashboard. My activity for today: how many documents did I send? How many have been completed? How many may have been declined? You may have seen in the signing process that when I received that document to sign, I could decide not to sign it, and I could decline my signing. I could cancel a document as a document originator as well, and any documents that may have expired or, as I mentioned, about to expire. So this is a nice little dashboard. All of this could be exposed within CRM as well, but as you saw, Chris also had all of the statuses of those documents inside CRM. So all of this, again, is exportable. Under administration, we can do some customization and branding. You saw the Acme name, for example, in there. We can change the colors and themes of the presentation. So this is the signer's presentation. This is what the signer sees, and the ability to customize that in the signing process. So, for example, that page header that had the Acme logo, and what that landing page looked like, and what buttons were included and excluded, and any custom messages you might want to give to your signers, and then instructions to those signers as well. So you can see that it's highly customizable and brandable, as well as when the document's completed, what happens. You could push them back to your website. You could push them somewhere else, or give them custom messages and give them links to different places. The other thing, probably the most important thing that's housed here in the AssureSign application is the history of the document. And this is the ability to go in and search for documents based on different criteria. So show me all the documents that were signed, that were sent by X user in the last 10 days. or I'm searching for a specific document to find out if someone actually signed it. So you could look by the signatory's name as well. So there's different variables you could use to search for documents. I'm just going to look at some recent history here, and we'll actually look at the document that Chris just completed. And we'll see it's this one right here, this NDA. And if I click on that document from the AssureSign tool, we'll see the history of that document here. Here's a brief history. It shows the user that created it, and you see that was Chris at this particular IP address. The signing step 1 had started, which was an email invitation, but it was also an immediate presentment, which meant it was signed there. It was shown under review, and that means it was opened. So no longer can your customers tell you that they didn't see the document. Once they've clicked on it, you will know that the document was considered under review. That signing step 1 started, signing step 2 started, and so on. If we look at a completion report, this will be all the details around that signing experience or signing ceremony. So here's the unique document ID. It was called an NDA that had a specific order number, which could have been a customer number that could be used to track it. This is the instance of AssureSign that it was produced on. It originated as a PDF as it was passed to us, and then we see the first page of that document, and then we see all the signing details. And you notice that Chris was both the president signer as well as John Smith. So this is their agreeing to the eSign and UITA compliance information. So that's part of the eSign requirements for that process of being a legally binding electronic signature. And then here are all the details about that signing process, and even as deep as the browsers that were used to sign the document, and then each of those signing steps and the instructions to that particular signer. So if you had different types of messaging that you needed to produce or send as they hit a single signing step, that can also be stored in the document's history. And again, all of this going towards the non-repudiation of the document based on eSign and UITA. So that's just a very high level of some of the things that happen in the back end of AssureSign, but this is rarely where a user would go. All the users would really stay out in their external application, most likely in this demonstration as we saw today in CRM. So with that, I will turn it back to Samira and also offer up the beginning of Q&A. So remember to post your questions to the questions tab in GoToWebinar.
Yep, thanks, Larry. So as we wrap up this demonstration, I'd like to bring this webinar to a close. I trust you've seen how Expertdoc and AssureSign work together to help you eliminate additional costs and document delays, and how easy it is to transition from manual to electronic signature. So the forum is now open for questions. Please submit through the GoToMeeting webinar application. I think we have one here that Chris can answer. So the question is, Chris, for the integration between Expertdoc and AssureSign, how much time and effort is required?
Yep. So really, the richness of the functionality that you saw, and actually much more, is all available out of the box. So that's all really just configuration of the existing out of the box integration. So for most scenarios that we see, there really is no exhaustive development effort or really strenuous integration required. So really that's kept to a minimum, and the actual technical integration components, so the behind-the-scenes integration is all provided at no extra charge. So you get that really out of the box when you purchase the Expertdoc solution that includes AssureSign.
Thanks for that, Chris. There's another one coming in that I think you can handle, Larry. The question is, we have a requirement for signatures on multiple pages by multiple parties. How is this handled by your solution?
So the AssureSign application can design or could be designed to have many different workflows. So multiple signatories in multiple different ways. So you can create an virtually unlimited number of signatories as well as signature locations within a document. And you build a workflow that dictates the order in which the signers will sign, and so they could sign in series, as we saw in Chris's demo. The first person signed and then went off to the second person to sign. And you could do any combination of that series, and then you can also send documents out in parallel. So maybe there are two internal approvers, if you will, that go through the process. And once that's approved, then maybe there's 5 signatories. So you could go, the first 2 steps are in series, and the last ones are in parallel, and then when that final person signs, the document would be considered completed. So there's a variety of ways you could build workflow that would handle various numbers of signatures and signatories. And I actually see another question out here. Is there any integration with Active Directory for users to log in to use AssureSign? So that's a good question, and we do have the ability to create users with Active Directory database, but as it relates to logging in, you don't need to have Active Directory integration to log in. As you saw in the demo, the user would be logged into CRM, and they would have a mapped user ID in AssureSign. So to manage their documents, they wouldn't need to log into AssureSign. It would all be done through CRM in this case. But we also do that with other applications. So the user does not have to log into AssureSign to use it. We have some desktop widgets as well that would not incur them to log in to AssureSign. There's sort of an inherent integration back when you're talking API connectivity as we are here. So there really isn't any need for Active Directory integration.
I think we have one more that both Larry and Chris can answer from both the AssureSign and the Xpertdoc perspectives. The question is, we are considering a move to provide tablets to some of our in-field agents. I assume this is coming from someone in insurance. Can this be supported by both solutions?
Yep. So from Xpertdoc's perspective, absolutely. So our interfaces and capabilities were recently extended to include support for mobile devices and some of the specifics around being functional on those devices. So certainly from an Xpertdoc perspective, that's no issue.
Yep. And from a AssureSign perspective, same thing. So we are always browser-based. So talking about mobile devices and signing, we don't force the signers to have an app downloaded on their mobile device. So we recognize the footprint of the device. So we know whether it's an iPhone or iPad, Android phone or Android tablet, a Kindle Fire. We'll identify what that device is, and we'll push the appropriate footprint or look and feel in that particular browser. So we know the browser, the device, and we'll provide the appropriate signing interface. It essentially looks similar to what Chris did in the PC-based signing process. Is just optimized for the phone or for the tablet with the same compliance elements, but just the look and the feel is designed for mobile.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm just gonna wait around for a few more questions. Any more questions? But if there are none, I think I'm gonna bring this webinar to a close. Thank you to Chris and Larry for your insight, and to all participants for attending. Once again, the deck is available upon request, and any further information can be requested from the contact listed on your screen. So Larry, Tori, Chris, and Varsha, the president of Xpertdoc. Thank you very much.